Yes, so we've done some studies here in the United States and found that there is some aerosolized virus that is recoverable, that can be isolated and is alive. But what just came out yesterday was a large study from Wuhan, from a hospital in Wuhan, where they also identified viral particles. And they did it by polymerase chain reaction in aerosols. And so the concern is that this virus is traveling in air a lot further than was originally suspected. So we spoke about, the WHO talks about 1 meter distance, the CDC about 2 meters distance, but this type of information means that it really becomes important, especially those of us who don't know if they're carrying the virus, to be wearing masks. To reduce the risk to others when we speak. Because when we speak, if we're carrying that virus in our respiratory system, we can aerosolize it, apparently, as per this study. What is very important to take into consideration, again, is the infectious dose. And that's something we still have to find out, is whether in an aerosolized form of this virus, other people are acquiring what we call an infectious dose, enough of a dose of that virus to end up getting sick or severely sick in hospital. So that's the next part that we have to do. Another thing that we're doing because of that is we're looking right now about whether or not we open restaurants and hotels. We're talking about in certain types of spaces having to use negative pressure devices, so that if the room cannot be otherwise ventilated, you can get rid of virus that's in the air that way. Yeah, in many of the ICUs, we're noticing that independent of any other risk factor, cardiovascular disease, hypertension, diabetes, underlying respiratory disease, cancer, immunodeficiency, etc., an independent risk factor is obesity. So people who are obese have a higher risk of having severe disease. They have a higher risk of going into critical disease. They wind up staying longer in the ICU, and they have a higher risk of dying. Someone who's overweight is definitely one of the highest risk factors. So they're going to have to stay in isolation longer than others if they want to remain healthy, for the various reasons we just described. And in the meantime, while they're at home, they should have a telemedicine conversation with their physician, with their nutritionist, to try and get them on a regimen so that they can lose weight, maybe exercise in an appropriate fashion for whatever their situation is, so that they can get out of the risk factor if at all possible. As soon as you're in that obese category, and everyone can look at their charts to see what are the normal ranges of weight for their height, and they should try and get to those normal weight, height distributions, and have a normal BMI if at all possible, because that will reduce their risk. They have to do it with good nutrition. If you get into a malnourished state, that's a separate risk factor. So you can't just stop eating. You've got to do it in a programmed and appropriate fashion. That's why they need to talk to their doctors and their nutritionists to get on a plan that works for them.